Today, the Iraq inquiry will be hearing from the Right Honourable Tony Blair.
There was the faintest hint of a shake of concern as Tony Blair took his seat in front of the Iraq inquiry. Here, he had to explain why he took his country to war. But the chairman reminded everyone this was not a courtroom.
The inquiry is not a trial. The committee before you is independent and non-political.
The former Prime Minister insisted there was no secret deal with the US, and he mounted a spirited defence of his decision to go to war.
My judgment ultimately was that Saddam was going to remain a threat, and that is in this change in the perception of risk after September the 11th, it was important that we were prepared to act.
He talked about the intelligence dossier, which suggested Saddam could launch weapons of mass destruction within 45 minutes. This, he said, was a mistake which should have been clarified.
In the light of what subsequently happened and the importance it subsequently took on, it would have most certainly been better to have corrected it.
And he argued it was right to deal with Saddam in 2003, or he would be a major problem now.
Sometimes what's important is not to ask the March 2003 question, but to ask the 2010 question. Supposing we had backed off this military action, supposing we'd left Saddam and his sons, who were going to follow him, in charge of Iraq, people who used chemical weapons, caused the death of over 1 million people.
When it came to planning for what happened after the war, Tony Blair said they had done what they could, but believed outside forces, something they hadn't considered, almost ruined everything.
People did not think that Al-Qaeda and Iran would play the role that they did.
After several long hours in front of the inquiry, Tony Blair's evidence was perhaps best summed up right at the end. He was asked if he'd any regrets. He has none. And he expressed his sorrow, but only for the divisiveness his decision to go to war had caused.
In the end, it was divisive. And I'm sorry about that. And I tried my level best to bring people back together again. But if I'm asked whether I believe we are safer, more secure, that Iraq is better, but our own security is better, with Saddam and his 2 sons out of power and out of office than in office, I believe indeed that we are.
And no regrets.
Responsibility, but not a regret for removing Saddam Hussein.